Good morning, everybody. My name is Jim McCarthy. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for coming out here and thank my partner, Steve. We're really glad to have you guys come back. We're going to do a little talk with some of these Santa Fe drivers up here. I know a lot of you guys don't even care, but these are the true legends of Santa Fe up here, other than me. And first, next to me is Pete Argianis, Tom Wagner. Oh, go ahead, correct me.
No, you're right.
Okay.
You're right.
The infamous Little John Provenzano and Joseph Rossio, the Rubber Ducky Special. So you guys know I suck at this question stuff, so I'm just going to kind of let you guys pick a story you want to tell for start off things off and go from there. Hope they're good stories and not you took me out in the heat race that day. So
I think we all took everybody out sometime or another. But I just want to say I'm still racing today, and Jim actually still letters my car. You know, I race a Kankakee, we race a B-Mod, and I'm racing with my son. But when I raced at Santa Fe, I started around 80, 82. I won the Star Car division back then. That was like when you just kept on, when you first started racing. And then I went to Sportsman, and I raced late model. But Sportsman division, it was the best division that I've ever raced in. You had people that would actually check your car, and there were 20 to 25 people that could win every night. And if you said fast time, you didn't get to go to the front. You went to the back. You had to pass 20, 25 cars. So, I mean, all these guys here, they have probably a lot more laps than me because they started a lot earlier. But I raced with each and every one of these guys, and I'm telling you, they could really get with the program back then. I won my first feature against in the Sportsman division. I beat Johnny Garrett, and that guy was hard to beat. And a lot of guys had Johnny Garrett cars. Mine was sponsored from Saunders Masonry. And, he still sponsors me today. He's been sponsoring me for 25 to 30 years. So I'm going to let Tom talk now, but this is a great thing that Jim does every year, and we appreciate everybody coming out.
Yeah, Tom Legner. I think I've been racing probably longer than all these guys. I started in 1971 and ran Volkswagen mini stocks, and then 75 switched over to late models, running Ileana, Grundy. And then it was until 79, about halfway through the season, I'd had enough of the asphalt, and we took the car and changed it and went to Santa Fe and had a blast. Usually was right on the cutoff where I would make the feature or miss the feature and run the semi, but I was out there, I was having fun, and I enjoyed Santa Fe. It's probably one of my top 3 favorite tracks that I've ever raced at. And I'm still racing now. We're downgraded this year. I'm going to be running a 4-cylinder at Grundy against my 2 oldest grandsons and my oldest son. So it's going to be different. I haven't been on asphalt in over 30 years, but we're going to give it a try. The Santa Fe was always my favorite place, and my dad raced there also in the 60s, so I kind of grew up at the track, and it was a blast. It was family, I mean, there was a lot of arguing and everything going on, but everybody was family, and I really enjoyed it. So, all right, Johnny, it's all yours.
Thanks. I started in 1971. I ran 50 years. And as far as Santa Fe goes, yeah, we all run into people because they made it start dead last. And the only way you can get to the front is move them. Oh, he had a lot of friends. He had a lot of enemy. Had a lot of enemy today. Old man John Garrett, I was here a couple of years ago, sitting up here with him, and he had to remind me when I wrecked him in 1975. Oh, that was kind of fun. And I don't know, Joe, did I ever run into you?
A few times.
All right.
And I probably run into you a few.
You know. Yeah. Matt, I remember I won the last race at NFA Speedway, and Joe helped me win it. He don't know it, but no, I was trying to get by Frank Reamer, and he wouldn't let me. I couldn't get by him, and he went around Joe on the outside, and I dove underneath Joe on the inside. Then I checked out and run off on him, but I'd never gone by him if Joe went into third place going into 3. But that's part of it. You learn a lot of memory, a lot of good memory, a lot of bad memory.
More
you know,
good than bad, though.
more good than bad for sure. 1990 they were erecting the 200. You're out there blaming it on me. No, but they didn't send their attorney out on Monday and apologize to me. All my car did was jumped out of gear, and they had a rule that day. You couldn't pull in and let you pull in on the front right away. Well, I broke down the back right away. None of it could see where we were going. The racetrack was terrible. But I have people always tell me, I was there when you caused that wreck. And I tell them, I didn't cause that wreck. Finally, I got tired of telling them that, and I tell them, I don't care what you think. On Monday morning, I put $13,000 in the bank. Oh, it no matter. But yeah, there are a lot of good memory. There are a lot of guys here that probably don't like me. There are probably guys that do like me, but how they brought you up. I mean, you had to rate hard. You had to move people because rating was right around the bottom of the racetrack. You had to move them. Oh, that's how it was. That's it. No, I'm done. Have to go.
Some of my better memories, I've made a lot of very good friends at Santa Fe. Some of them's not with us no more. Fred Royal, Mel Van Allen, Bill Clemens, guys that were just great people. One thing I remember about Mel, I was running in the sportsman feature, running for points, and I got crashed right at the beginning of the feature. And all of a sudden, I feel somebody tugging on my harness and that, trying to get me out of the car. I said, what's going on? It was Mel Van Allen had pulled to the infield and telling me to get into his car so I can make some points. So he gave me his car to finish the race. And I'll never forget that the rest of my life. And then there was times like I let Al Madden borrow my car one night, and he was racing against Fred Royal for points, which Fred Royal was a outstanding friend of mine. But Al Madden did a lot for me too. So I let Al borrow my car, and well, he won the feature. Well, then Fred's crew and Fred didn't talk to me for a few weeks. But other than that, like I say, I made a lot of great lifetime friends at Santa Fe, and hopefully a lot more to come. And that's all I got to say. That don't sound like the Joe Rossi of I know. And even Little John is my friend, I hope.
Yeah.
I also want to say that when most of Joe's wins, he was kicking everybody's butt with a 6-cylinder when everybody else was running V8s. So, before I put the mic down, we introduced a new panel member here, Bruce Monkman. Bruce Monkman, he's a Santa Fe staple too.
I was going out there in the late 60s, early 70s. People don't realize, by today's racing, it's so technical, and you just can't lean on anybody, you can't root anybody. And when Little John just said, you had to move guys out there. You had to really root them to get up to the front. And that's when they started the top 6 qualifiers in the back, the top money winners in the back. You had Nelson, Van Allen, I'm trying to think, there was Kelly, Kelly, Gardner didn't really run there on a regular basis. You know, you had Kelly. Kelly was a rough driver to get around, and he had a crew that could back him up. Story that this fellow told me, he says, Kelly says, you guys, when we get in a brawl and Jerry Johnson is involved with it, he says, you guys take care of Jerry Johnson and I'll take care of the rest of the bunch. Yeah, that's you know, Jerry Johnson had a pretty good reputation as a scrapper, and he came up with Berger back in the day. You know, you guys don't know Bob Berger and Danny Albright. You know, these two guys were in their day they were both like Golden Glove boxers, and that's how they got their fame. It's coming to Santa Fe, and you mess with anybody, you know, back then. You know, if you had a good crew, a tough crew, you found the victory lane more often than not. But anyway, that's I just want to say. And then later on, I graduated, went with Jay Bowman, raced with him a little bit, won a championship with Jay. Ronnie Fisher, when he came along, started racing with Ronnie a little bit, and he's down in Florida. He couldn't make it, otherwise he'd be up here talking, you know. But then later on, I twisted my wife's arm. I says, you know what? You've been around racing long enough. I said, why don't we get you into a powder pup, division and get you going? And she says, no. I don't want no part of it. I go, listen, you know how to drive. You know the routine here. I said, just get in the car and go. Well, lo and behold, she won fast enough. She won the championship in '77. So that was a family deal. Getting the family out there between me and my wife, and seeing her go around and win the championship. So that was quite an interesting deal that we had going. But she didn't want to drive. She had her heart set against, no, I'm not doing it. So, but I don't know if she thanks me today or not. I think she still holds it against me. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, she's pointing at you now.
Yeah,
You're in trouble.
With the middle peace sign.
Yeah, you're number one.
Yeah. But and when we sort of hit on this a little bit too. You said Santa Fe, they call it a park, and it was a park, and family members would come out there, and we all family. Anybody who raced inside that track was a family member, whether you liked them or not. We all became associated with one another, and you got to grow up with, some of the kids, and you see them grow up, and all because of Santa Fe Speedway would put this deal together. And everybody says, well, we lost a little bit of that, but thanks to Jim and Steve, we can bring that back here today with us and relive a little bit of that. Santa Fe brought a lot of good memories. Really had a good time out there, and if you were part of it, you know what I'm talking about. Even if you were in the stands, you got to know people. Got to associate with drivers, and you knew who the good guys were, who had the black hats and the white hats, but they were entertainers. They put on a show, and that's what Santa Fe was all about. It was always, I'd say, a show that was unexpected, delightful, because you didn't know what to get, and you're getting every night. But boy, you knew when you walked out of there, you said, boy, was that entertaining. It really was. And and thanks to these guys here for putting that on, for entertaining us over the years. Especially Little John here. Little John's got quite a career behind him. He's pretty modest, but he was one of the first guys to leave Santa Fe and do good, and went out there and said, we're going to go out there and explore the different tracks, and he did that, and he did okay. And when he came back to Santa Fe, he was even faster when he came back to Santa Fe, because he went out there and realized there's more to setting up a car than just for Santa Fe Speedway. You had to set up a car for different tracks, and that's what made you better. You stick around one track, you sort of get, this is how, my striving style. But Little John, I think, was one of the first guys out there to really leave, and I was surprised that he did, because he had things pretty much under control at Santa Fe. He was a big contender to be with, being around. But anyway, yeah, I could go on and on and on, and we will.
We ain't gonna let you though.
No, we will. We get back over at that table over there. We'll tell some more lies.
Yeah, now the real stories are coming out there.
Yeah. Oh,
but
God, yeah. I mean,
anyway, I gotta cut this guy short just because we have our. Don't go anywhere though. We have our Illinois Stock Car Hall of Fame announcements for this year's inductees coming up next. Oh, go ahead, Joe. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to Bill Nippenberg and Smitty. Hope they're getting better. I hear Smitty's going home tomorrow, is the last I heard. So
Yeah, that's what
hopefully
I heard
they're
today
getting
too.
better.
Yeah, and also you guys' friend John Garrett, I hear, is back in the hospital and he's not feeling too well. But that's why I want to keep these stories alive, and because every year we lose more and more, and people are getting sick, and we need to keep these memories and stories going. So, thank you all very much. You're all legends, and not just at Santa Fe, but around the country. So, thank you very much. Oh yeah, and would you please wish Mr. Rossio a happy birthday?
Happy birthday, Joe.
And get everybody's attention for a second. One of the great honors we're having this year is the introduction of this year's Illinois Stock Car Hall of Fame inductees. And right now I'd like to bring up Jerry, Stan, and Earl Clement to announce it. And please give them your undivided attention because they're three legends and great people in this sport. So thank you. Well, except for Stan.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. It's always great to be here at the annual memorabilia show. We're here today to announce the 2022 Illinois Stock Car Hall of Fame inductees. And with further ado, here's the list for 2022. For the Northwest region, Dick Trickle, America's winningest stock car driver, 7-time ARTCO champion, and 2-time American Speed Association champion. For the Midwest region, Frank Reber, 4-time Santa Fe Speedway champion, 3-time LaSalle Speedway champion, and also a Kankakee Speedway late model champion, Frank Reber. For the Northeast region, a 3-time ARCA champion, Bob Dotter, Sr., Bob Dotter. Also a longtime short track ace on the Chicago area circuits. The South region, Joe Ross Sr., 3-time Springfield Speedway late model champion, Joe Ross Sr. Track promoter, Joe Fabricius, Bob Joe Sycamore Speedway, and his daughter Linda and granddaughter Samantha with us today. Joe Fabricius, who built that track back in the early 60s. Race official, Roger Smith, longtime starter at Raceway Park, Roger Smith. And he brought his whole family here today. Roger Smith, track official. Car builder, Bob Novi, longtime car builder, mechanic, especially at Santa Fe Speedway. A lot of success there with Arnie Gardner, a Stock Car Hall of Fame member. Car builder Bob Novi. And finally, last but not least, artist, sign painter, and a race car driver himself, Dan Collier. Dan Collier, artist, sign painter, also known as James Bond, 007. Again, our inductees for this year, Dick Trickle, Frank Reber, Bob Dotter Sr., Joe Ross Sr., Joe Fabricius, Roger Smith, Bob Novi, and Dan Collier. Let's have a hand for all those folks. Thank you very much. Roger Smith, you're not doing anything. Come over here. I'm still looking for that 20 I lent you back in 1970. Where's it at?
Checks in the mail.
Checks in the mail. Roger, I think you and your dad now will become Hall of Fame members. That's got to be a great honor.
Yes, it is a great honor.
Ah, yes. Did you ever think it would come to this? When was the first year you started working at Raceway Park? I remember I was just a little kid in about 1969 going out there, and I'll tell you the story. Here's a story about Roger Smith and myself. 1969, I'm a big-time racing photographer, at least I thought I was. And Ham LaBaza said, yeah, kid, you can go out there and take some pictures. But if these 3 guys, or 4 guys, your 2 brothers and your dad and you, if they say jump or move, you listen to them. And that's where I met Roger Smith, 1969, a couple of years ago. Tell us about some interesting things there as a flagman starter at Raceway Park, the world's busiest track.
Well, a quick story, like Stan just said, we kind of told him, do not turn your back on them. A couple of years before Raceway closed, I turned my back on him on the infield, and one of those little dwarf cars hit the wall. And once he hit the grass, I had no idea where he was going. I jumped as high as I could, still caught me in the leg, but I did not get hurt. And that's one story I told him, never turn your back, and I did it. But my really official year of starting was probably 67 when I got out of the Army. I did a little bit in 64, but not much. And back then it was 4 nights a week, holidays. The one year they had the 25th anniversary, that ran 7 days a week. I had a great time. I wouldn't change it for anything. I mean, I met guys like Stan and Danny Collier, Bobby Dodder. I mean, I know all them guys and had good times with them. I don't regret it one bit.
One other story, Roger, and we'll let you go. I know you're busy over there at the tables trying to make a buck. You said your dad had a small stroke, I think, or a heart attack, and he's going to be out. He's not going to be able to handle the flags there at Raceway. And you went in the office and told Blanche Jenin that I don't think Dad's not going to be able to flag the races. I don't know what you're going to do. And what'd she tell you?
Go get his flags, basically. The job is yours, and that's how I started doing the flagging.
Once again, 2020 Illinois Stock Car Hall of Fame inductee, Roger Smith. Congratulations, Roger. Dan Collier. Let's have a hand for Dan Collier, better known to most of us as James Bond, driver of the 007. You've done it all, drag racing, stock car racing, a little bit of sign painting and lettering some cars. Tell us that story about when you were doing the sign painting and you were doing Bud Kaler's cars and a guy named Bob Pronger's cars. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, when I would go to Kaler's garage, he would give me a bad time that I went to Pronger's garage, and Pronger would give me a bad time for going to Kaler's garage.
So you sold the information back in, no, you didn't do that.
Little did they know I didn't know anything about chassis at all. I relied on George Willie, Ralph Wren, and Kyle Harvey to set my cars. And then, so I didn't learn anything about chassis.
So you were just the wheelman, you let them get other grease monkeys do the work and get dirty and all that good stuff.
Yes. I'm sorry. I have upper Parkinson's, so I tell everybody not only am I an old coot, but now I sound like one also.
Dan Collier, one of the true greats of Chicago area racing. Great to see you. Congratulations on that induction into the Hall of Fame this year. Let's have a hand for Dan Collier. Gerace, probably not Fabricius. What's
Hello, everybody. I'm Samantha Drays. I'm Joe Fabricius's second oldest granddaughter. And I just want to say thanks to everybody that voted him into this. If he was still here today, he would probably be so excited, even though he doesn't like people to appreciate the work he did. But he started Sycamore Speedway for us, and now my parents actually own it. So we're going to be stuck there for life. We're going to be stuck there for life. But it's all thanks to what he created many, many, many moons before I was even a thought in somebody's eyes. But he started something, and we are going to just keep going with it. But thank you, thank you, thank you.
Let's have a hand for Joe Fabricius's granddaughter. And I mean, that's a place to go out to on a Saturday night there. It's a beautiful little racetrack. Kind of got that little rustic thing going there, and the pits in the woods. I like it. It's great. Congratulations, Joe Fabricius. Well, Jerry Clark, I think I'm done. All right, again, the Hall of Fame inductees for 2022, Dick Trickle, Frank Reber, Bob Dotter Sr., Joe Ross Sr., Joe Fabricius, Roger Smith, Bob Novi, and Dan Collier. Again, congratulations. The inductees will be honored at the 20th Annual Illinois Stock Car Hall of Fame Day, Saturday, September the 10th. The Hall of Fame gathering, it starts at the Historic Auto Attractions Museum in Roscoe, Illinois. Later in the evening, the banquet at the Hoffman House in Rockford. Check with Jerry Clark or Earl Clement at the table there in the other room for more information. And thank you, Jimmy McCarthy and Steve Bechtel, for letting us do this today. Thanks again, Jimmy.
Well, I just want to take a quick second to let everybody know that Stan and Tommy Turtle were the ones that started all this, and hopefully we're continuing it in their honor and keeping it going well. And thanks to Jerry and Earl for their efforts at the Illinois Stock Car Hall of Fame, and I heard they just built a big building out there to make it even bigger. And Art's not here today, but all you guys know Fireball Fairman, and he's a big part of it too. And thank you all for coming out. We're going to try to get some more raceway drivers up here in a couple minutes to do some more interviews. And thank you all very much. We appreciate it. I just want to take a minute here to interview. We missed him on the Santa Fe deal because I couldn't find him. But this is Mr. Michael Madden, a great family of the Santa Fe Speedway. So say hi to everybody, Mike.
How you doing? How many people remember Santa Fe Speedway? Raise your hands. Okay, you know, over the years, I started with my dad was Lucky the Clown and my brother was Al Madden, okay? But anyway, the first time Santa Fe had Tracy and Elrod in the old coupes, and I used to, you know, Roger Kling, and we used to paint these cars. I was young back then. We used to paint these cars for $5 a piece with a roller. And you know, I went home to my ma, and she says, "Where were you at?" I says, "I was over at Roger's house." I says, "He gave me a paintbrush, and he says, go to it, paint the car, you know, the color that he gave me." I went home, and my ma says, "What happened? You got it all over your clothes. How much did he give you?" I says, "He gave me $6. And my ma says, "I can't buy you a pair of pants for $6. Okay, and then as time went on, you know, my dad is Lucky the Clown. You know, I lived at the racetrack. We had to wear white pants to get in the pits and everything else. Rossio, my brother built a car for him. We're good friends with 44 here. And you know what? Racing has changed, you know, over the years. But Santa Fe Speedway had blue clay. It was probably one of the best short track there was. And I remember, you know, through the years, my dad, Lucky the Clown, owned car 25, and Larry Robb won a championship with it. And I'm trying to think of it. Larry Robb also won a championship with that car. And then my brother, you know, raced with, you know, Little John, Rossio, Garrett, and I helped my brother do the maintenance on his car. And back then, he had a 6-cylinder straight inline 6. He ran 37 features in a year at Santa Fe. And you know what? He built a Mad Dog chassis. And a lot of people won at different tracks with that. And I worked for Frank Irons, where we did Dugan's motor at Santa Fe, Rossio. I think we did yours at Rossio's. And the people were a family. One time I was there and I was taking pictures with my 8mm camera, and I left it at the racetrack. And my brother called me up and says, "Hey, Little John's got your camera on the back of his trailer, and he's going to save it for me." It was family, you know what I mean? It wasn't just any old racetrack. And back then, they had Black Label as a beer at the fence. We'd stand on the fence. And when you got home after drinking Black Label, your head would be pounding. And then my brother took the AMC car that Mars Mobile had, because they wouldn't let my brother race the 06 anymore. It was a straight inline 6. So he went to a Rambler with a convertible, and he won in that. And then the third year, he won again, and I can't remember what car that was. It's been that long ago. But anyway, coming here, meeting all you people, it brings back memories, for each and every person has a story to tell. Don't be afraid not to come up here and let everybody know. All right, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. And Mike's sister and Al's sister, Tammy, is out there somewhere, but I'm sure she's hiding because she doesn't want to talk on the microphone. So I'm going to round up some Raceway guys here in a second, and so don't wander too far away, so we can talk about what you guys around here think about is probably the most popular track in the in the Chicagoland area. So thank you very much. Here's Tim Scroggum to tell you a little bit what's going on with them this season and in the future. Thanks.
Good morning. Thanks for having us on. Mid-Am for this year, we are 10 races. We've put together a nice points fund. I got to thank Chuck Years for helping us get the points fund put together with Wilkins. So we are $10,000 points fund, 10 races, and the majority of our races are over 1,000 to win this year, so we're pretty excited about that. 8 asphalt races, 2 dirt races, and I think for 23 we're looking to put the road course back on the map as well. So that's the newest and bluest from the Mid-Am series.
Well, thank you, Tim. I'm sure we'll all hear about the schedules. I'm sure you follow them online and Facebook. I'm sure they're on all that stuff. If not, just ask Chuck, because he'll tell you everything. Okay, I'm going to get to round up some Raceway guys, and thank you guys very much. Thank you, Tim. And if anybody else wants to come up and has announcements about racing series or wants to do an interview, just let me know.
Roger Smith, come on down. Oh, you're here. I got to sit down. I'm sorry. Well, here we are with a group of racers, and I do mean racers. These gentlemen, been there, done it, got the scars to prove it, and their pocketbooks are a little short, too, from racing in the days. With us today, down here to my left, Bill Service. Raise your hand, Bill, yeah. Danny Deutsch, Roger Smith, Johnny McPartland, and on the far left of me, Tom Jones. Let's have a big hand for these guys. True racers, and I do mean true racers. Bill Service, you've won a couple of championships at Raceway Park. Somebody told me you used to sell Pepsi at Raceway Park and championships at Illiana Motor Speedway, I meant. Tell us a little bit about your racing career, and I'll share the mic here with you. Or you have a mic.
Oh, I got a mic. Here we go. Well, my racing career actually started when I was 10 years old at Illiana. I'm sorry, got the wrong tracks there.
Yeah, I have the same problem.
Yeah, at Raceway Park, I used to fill pop for my dad, and then got a little bit older and became a vendor, and And then eventually I got into racing. Well, I had to get divorced first before I got into racing. It's kind of backwards of everybody else. But, yeah, I started racing enduros at Raceway Park and raced there for a couple years. And then sad to say, we lost Raceway Park and went to Ileana Motor Speedway and had some very good luck at Ileana. And I had a lot of good guys to help me out, through the years and stuff like that. And we were very, very successful and enjoyed every minute of it.
How many championships in that street stock division at Ileana?
I won 5.
And that was kind of a tricky little quarter mile, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. We went through a lot of breaks real quick.
Yeah, I remember brake rotors kind of glowing, but you did a real good job out there, Bill.
Yeah, our rotors used to glow so much you could put a hot dog on it and cook it in 30 seconds. But yeah, it was a tough track to drive. Setup was the key. Just like any other track you go to. Eventually you find out what works, what doesn't work, and a lot of times you try new stuff and that doesn't work, so you go back to the old school stuff, and I still believe in the old school stuff works really good.
And you're still racing. Grundy County Speedway on Friday nights, not every night, but good part of the summer.
Yeah, good nights. There's times we've had a good car, and the problem is when you race part-time, you kind of lose that little bit of a feel every now and then if you ever race for like a week or two, and you got to readjust to the car, and that's probably the hardest thing. But I'm in it for the fun. I enjoyed this right here, seeing some of the fans that still come around, and some of the old drivers right here. And me and Danny here, we used to sell popcorn and peanuts and pop back in the day right here. So then I got my father-in-law next to me, so I got to plug him in.
Be good. Behave.
Yeah.
Bill Service, always good to see you.
Hi, thank you.
And are we racing this summer at Grundy or somewhere else?
We're doing 6 nights at Grundy, 6 to 7 nights. Right, honey? 6, 7 nights? All right, and then we're doing Rockford for the Bahama Brackets. All right, and...
she said 5 only.
Well, we're doing 6 or 7.
Oh, okay.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
All right. It is a very hard sport to get out of.
Yes, it is.
And I know my time is coming, and I'm going to have to put the for sale sign on it, but it's coming pretty quick. But I enjoyed every minute of it.
Bill Service, always good to see you. Good
Thank
luck
you.
with the racing this year. Bill Service, everybody. Dan Deutsch, Danny Deutsch. I remember you running in that hobby stock division, and number 36, you and Paul Sluzy had a pretty hot rod there for a while.
Exactly.
When did you start racing there, Dan?
When I was 18 years old. I was, again, a vendor with Bill in the stands when I was a younger kid, and I always told myself, this looks like a whole lot of fun. This is when I turned 18, because I was told that's how old you had to be to start racing. So I got my first car with a friend of mine, Phil Randall. If you remember Phil.
Number 99?
Yes, yeah. And then got obviously the hooked on it and was doing it ever since for 22, 23 years, I want to say.
Looking back, some highlights. What kind of sticks out in your memory as far as your racing career?
Well, certainly that we had more success in the hobby stock division than we did in the late model division. When we ran good in late models, but didn't win as much as we would hope we would have. But we found out it was a lot harder game to figure out the late models than it was the hobby stocks. But we ran with so many. The competitiveness in the hobby stocks was really, really tough. And obviously I won a championship in '84 in the hobby stock, so that certainly sticks out.
You never branched out, or left the home track, Raceway Park. I don't remember seeing it at Ileana or Grundy over the years, and you guys kind of concentrated on Raceway Park, and if that was a tough joint to get around and some competition, there was some tough guys out there.
Yeah, we ran 2 times out at Grundy, but obviously the majority, certainly 100% of the time was at Raceway, and for whatever reason, we just enjoyed being at the track. It was close to home. Didn't have to take time off of work, like on a Friday, to go to Grundy. So we just want to concentrate at at Raceway and just have fun doing that.
Dan Deutsch, always a pleasure to see you.
Thank you, Stan.
Dan Deutsch, everybody. Fellow next to him, where's that 20? The check's in the mail, right. Roger Smith, longtime flagman at Raceway Park, but I bet you a lot of people don't know that you used to race quarter midgets at the little track kitty corner from Raceway Park there where I guess Walgreens parking lot is now.
Yes, that's where I started in quarter midgets. My dad started the association way back in the late 50s into the 60s. And that was my racing career. I did do a few races at Raceway when we had official races. I don't think I ever won any, but we had a good time.
You couldn't win,
So
that would be like,
that was my career of racing.
Yeah. You even were featured in a Chicago Tribune, Sunday Tribune magazine. Boy, you were like a celebrity way back when you were racing a quarter midgets.
That was way back when. These guys weren't even, the only one that's probably old enough here is Tom Jones.
Oh, no,
The rest of these guys weren't even born.
He said he turns 50 this summer, he was telling me earlier.
I'm 35.
Yeah, right, and I'm 39 and a half. Roger, looking back at Raceway Park, we've talked about, taking over from your dad and getting hit at the racetrack. Never turn your back on the cars there at Raceway. And any other parts of your racing career, flagging career that stick out?
Back in the day, I had a good time with this guy here, Johnny McPartland, Pat Eklund, and the Walt Myers, and other guys. This guy next to me, he used to go by with a squirt gun in his hand, hot lapping and qualifying, trying to get me all soaking wet. Where I finally got myself one, and I would try to spray him as he went by. But
and the windshield wipers didn't work on it.
They didn't work,
Yeah.
no.
They were out.
But, I mean, back then, I had some good times. I mean, the guys that raced with Tom Jones, I mean, Danny Collier and them, that was a good group of race drivers. The group with Johnny McPartland and the Walt Myers. And then I go back to Danny Deutsch here, that crew, that age group. Had a good time with all of them, It's like they're just good friends still after all these years. In fact, Danny Deutsch grew up right behind us in Cal Park, so I knew him from a young kid. The guy on the end, I don't know how I got him. He's the son-in-law now. I don't know how he got along there. But I'm going to keep him for a while. I might, before the guy retires, I might even try to hot lap his car one night at Grundy.
There you go. Don't let that
happen. Not a promise,
Don't
though.
let that happen, Bill. Don't let that happen.
Maybe if I do something to it, he'll retire.
Yeah.
Right, Care?
Or you might become the permanent driver. Who knows?
No.
total
I
different-
don't think my wife over there, Darlene, would let me do that.
Roger, by the way, congratulations on being inducted into the Illinois Stock Car Hall of Fame this year.
Thank you. And I mean,
I can tell people I know Roger Smith.
And I know Stan. But I mean, it really amazes me that I'm the first one.
Father and son.
Father and son, yes.
Yes,
I
sir.
said it's just a shame my dad wasn't alive, but that's just how it went. I mean, and I'm glad to see Danny Collier in there.
Roger, always great to see you. The check's in the mail as we've kidded each other over the years. Congratulations again on that induction into the Illinois Stock Car Hall of Fame. Roger Smith, everybody.
Thank you. That's double payment you owe me now.
Fellow down there, Johnny McPartland. How are you?
I'm fine.
Are
How
you behaving?
No.
John, we've talked on and off. I remember you coming to Illiana driving that the number 3 Nova with the wind-up key, Bill and Bev's car. But how'd you get started? I think you were kind of a garage rat, maybe hanging around Bill Koenig's garage back in the day.
I worked for Bill Koenig, and he taught me a lot of stuff there. I also worked at a place called Young's Auto Supply, and I was in the machine shop there doing stuff like I really like to do, is engines and stuff like that there.
Which you're still doing to this day.
Yes. And living in Calumet Park, being 5 blocks away from the racetrack, I always wanted to race there. So eventually, I had to wait till I was 21. I done some drag racing first, but then as soon as I hit 21, we built a Chevelle. It was kind of like a clone off of Billy Koenig. And we ended up being a whole bunch lighter than him, and if I had a better driver in the car, we probably would have been a whole lot faster, but, you know, I had to do a lot of learning. I had this habit of not wanting to lift. And I think that was from the drag strip, you know what I mean? But I knocked the nose off the car, I don't know how many times. But then finally I calmed down a little bit and got going. And then with Billy and that, we went to Ileana for a while, and then we done some ASA racing and raced with Tommy here and Rusty and shit, all the other guys.
Yeah, I mean, you ran, you know, with the 3-car, Bill and Bev Skarpinski's car. You ran Milwaukee Mile. That had to be a big deal.
That was a gas. Yeah, that was like our Daytona 500.
Yeah, I mean, them early ASA races there at early May, I think they were, or middle of May, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
but
wasn't it on a Thursday that we?
They used to
some of them
run
were on
there. I think they
Thursdays?
ran there 7 nights a week or 7 days a week. But
Yeah.
Thursday, they ran the fair races on
That's the
Thursday.
one,
and
yeah.
Saturday and Sunday, a lot of racing. And it's
Yeah,
sad today that that's not the case.
You'd come out there to go to Milwaukee, and there'd be 60 cars to
Yep.
qualify.
On a Thursday.
Yeah, on a Thursday.
Then we go race dirt.
Well, I remember, I think Elmer Steinbeck told me the story. You never wanted to bring your car to Nicky Chevrolet on a Thursday.
Because Billy had to leave.
Everybody left. All the mechanics were gone to the Milwaukee Mile for the races. And that's, John, looking at your career, what sticks out in your mind? It was some of the highlights.
Basically running ASA with all the real racers. No offense to anybody, but I mean, back then everybody had, you know, kind of like class. In other words, you could run alongside of the guy and race the guy instead of just slamming him into the wall or not giving him room.
Well, they had
stuff like that. You know,
ASA definitely had some
class,
top class drivers. I mean, Dick Trickle, Bob Seneker, Joe Shear, Mike Eddy, guy next to you there, Tom Jones. I mean,
who that is?
Yeah, that's Tom Jones.
Yeah.
But a lot of, talent. And like you said, 60 cars and to make the field was just an accomplishment.
Yeah. I mean, we ran Odessa. There was 72 cars there at that time.
On the road course.
Odessa,
Missouri.
Odessa, Missouri, yeah. And we ended up having 14th fast time there.
Yeah.
I used Trickle's setup, which was good, you know.
Yeah, he had kind of.
Yeah, he had a pretty good
He was
setup,
pretty good, yeah.
We started 55 cars in Milwaukee.
Yeah, on a rain
that's a
out or
fact.
something
Yeah,
that one time on a Thursday, I believe.
Yeah.
Johnny McPartland, always great to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for being here.
Thanks, Stan.
Johnny
Thanks to all you
McPartland,
people
everyone.
for coming out.
Finally, way down there at the other end, a fella that I've watched race for a number of years, and I was just a little kid when my dad took me to O'Hare Stadium back in the 60s. Tom Jones, always great to see you. Tom Jones, everybody. Tom, you started, tell us where you started.
Well, I started back. Can you hear me? Oh. Yeah. Started back at O'Hare Stadium.
McPartland.
Yeah, right. That's John. Back in, technically speaking, 1964. And I drove under an alias name because I was 20 years old, and you had to be 21 back then.
You're 21, and what are today? Oh, I'm 12, I'm racing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, now they're 12. Yeah,
right.
But I raced for Dick and Ray Beinlich, and we took turns in the car. And I won some features. I had to repair the car every time they drove it, but that's back when I worked on them all the time. And then in 1965 is when I bought a neighbor of mine's car. It didn't have an engine in it. Took my 56 Ford, took the engine out of it, parked it next to the house. My mother didn't like that. Put it in a race car. Went out and won the cadet championship, which is what they called it at the time. And I don't know how many features we won that year, but we made more money than we paid for the car, so that was a good thing.
Yeah. And then moved up in the late models.
Yeah, then I moved into late models. 1966, went with a Ford Galaxy, I think it was. Yeah. Blue
Convertible,
one.
right?
No, the hardtop was first, the white one. Then we made it into a convertible and painted it blue. Then we took the body off the next year. Whitey Gherkin at the time was running USAC, and he had a good sponsor, so he took the body off his car, a Fairlane, and we shortened up that car and the convertible and put that Fairlane body on it. Went racing. Then we got smart and put a small block Ford in the thing, and about every other week we were taking it out because we couldn't keep it together. But we raced that for a year, 2 years, I'm not even sure. And then we got into the boys' cars and Camaro and
Dillon cars.
yeah, well, the Dillon car was later. Then we built, I think it was a boys' car. I can't even remember right now. But Troy Robinson was my sponsor at the time. That was back right around 70. And we built a brand new car. And we went all over the country. We raced Grundy Friday night. We run, during the spring, we go to Waukegan Saturday, Ileana Sunday afternoon, back to Waukegan Sunday night. And race that way. And I did that for a year, and then we'd go down to Kentucky and race about once a month for sure. And then in the wintertime, in the fall, we'd go run the Triple Crown down in Florida, which was St. Pete, Sunshine Speedway, and St. Pete, that's Sunshine, or it's something else now. Golden Gate Speedway, that's what I'm thinking. That's gone, in Bradenton.
A lot of racing, a lot of traveling.
A lot of traveling, you know. Fuel was about 60 cents a gallon back then.
Yeah, you were telling me today what racing gas is going to cost, and that's another story. But over the years, Tom, I mean, you ran the local tracks, track championships at Waukegan and Grundy.
Should have been Ileana that one year.
Yeah.
Bobby won it, but I went ASA racing a couple times.
USAC racing, we skipped over that. I mean, you ran for Irv Novosel back in the day and ran his cars, number 43, if I remember. Right. And that had to be tough competition back then. I mean, you had factory-backed cars and, everybody from A.J. Foyt, Bobby Unser, Norm Nelson, et cetera, et cetera.
Don White.
Don White.
Yeah.
I mean, that was some top-notch guys there.
That was a tough division back there. Bowser.
Jack Bowser, right.
Bowser.
You mentioned Whitey Girk, and he was...
We did, that was a learning experience too. We didn't have the equipment that they had but we had some good runs. It wasn't that good, but after that's when I started, before I started the ASA program, I think I had won 175 features, all over, And once I got in the ASA, it was a different ball game, but we ran good. We had some years we run real good. Really only won one real race, down in Generalstown, Pennsylvania, but run second and third many times at different tracks over the years, and we traveled all over the country.
Ran some Artco races also.
Artco races, I had some good success there. I won at
Madison. Capital, I remember that in Madison. Yeah.
Won at Grundy with Artco. We run that that 5-race deal with that Chicagoland experience deal. What was it with the Ruler Brothers? Remember they had
Tri-R Promotions.
Tri-R Promotions.
Yep.
Ran that.
That was kind of the predecessor for Artco, really.
Yeah, that was a tough deal because we raced on Thursday night. We were up in Wausau and we were with Trickle and Miller and all them guys. And they closed the tavern at 1 o'clock on Thursday night, and we were still there at 7 o'clock in the morning outside. So that's the kind of experience you do when you go up in Wisconsin race with those guys.
Yeah. You had to have like Trickle. It was coffee, Pepsi, and
beer.
That was it. Yeah.
Well, they went and inspected a truck going into Canada one time, and all the beer fell out on the ground. And they said, well, "You're not supposed to be bringing that stuff." And he said, "Well, that's Kool-Aid to us." Something like
is.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Those 12-year-olds in Wisconsin, it's Kool-Aid. Yeah.
We did the same thing going to Calgary one time. They took you could only take so much in, and he said, "You can pick it up on the way back." So we did.
It was still
on
there.
the way back out.
Still there.
But then the ASA was a really good experience. I mean, there was a lot of tough competition there too, and in a way it was tougher than the USAC days.
Yeah, I mean, you had Trickle, you had Joe Shear, Mike Eddy, Bob Seneker,
right,
and on and on. I mean, and then you'd get some visitors that would maybe only run a handful of shows.
And there were some hammers there too, but for the most part, the guys had respect for each other.
Looking at your career, which, ran the gamut from racing a cadet sportsman car at O'Hare all the way to ASA and USAC and everything else in between. Some highlights, Tom. What would you pick out?
Probably looking back at, winning against Trickle and Refner the last lap at Madison, Capital, won it at the time. One of them, winning the ASA race at Jennerstown. Should have won Toledo, had a run out of gas because the gas man fell asleep. But anyway, back at Waukegan, won a lot of races at Waukegan.
You sure did.
Won quite a few races at Ileana, run a lot of races at Grundy. Where else? There's some, you know, I can't even think of all the tracks. I think I've ran over 100 racetracks over the, you know, all over the country.
And a lot of
all
success.
the years.
And a lot of
Yeah.
success.
Yeah.
Tom
So-
Jones, good to see you.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure to talk. Everybody, let's hear it for these guys again. Bill Service, Dan Deutsch, Roger Smith, Johnny McPartland, and Tom Jones. Thank you very much.